All right. All right. So thank you for agreeing to do this little interview, sharing your
Of
experience.
course.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. So, why don't you give a little background on what the problem was that brought you to IEMT?
Yeah. So I had a catastrophic horseback riding accident in 2016. And I was pretty new to horses in general at that time. So it's not like I had a lifetime of great experiences and memories and all this stuff to go, oh, that was a one off. That was pretty much shaping my um, thoughts about riding. And I was so determined. I mean, I was like, I had wanted to ride my whole life, and then I finally had an opportunity to, and then this happened, and I was determined to not let that stop me. So 4 months into my recovery, I got back on, and I continued riding, and I pushed through it, and I had this attitude of like, nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to go, and um, continued to ride different horses, increased my abilities. I actually started a horse rescue, so I'm around horses on a regular basis. And a lot of these horses are not trained, they've got trauma, so they're unpredictable. And it's kind of interesting because even though I started out with this gung ho, like, it's not going to stop me, I found that no matter how much time and consistency I gave it. So if I was writing I'll just write 3 days a week. I'll just write 5 days a week. I'll just do this and that. I just never got to the point where I didn't have this horrible anxiety about it. And even just thinking about writing, I would have my heart racing and stuff, but I was like, nope, I'll be fine. I just have to get through it. And being around horses on a daily basis in the way that I am, even that would be hard. My accident was caused by wind. And so on a windy day, even sometimes before I would leave my house, I would have all this anxiety. And I just, I finally had the opportunity to have my own horse to ride. And my dream was to have just, I'm not going to do all the jumping and stuff anymore. I can just ride through the trails and just relax. And I got this safe horse who's a known horse, he's got this history of being safe. And the anxiety just did not leave me. And I was like, and someone asked me one day, a friend who I was riding with, she said, do you even enjoy this? And I had to think about it. And I'm like, I think I do. I mean, I think somewhere buried in me, I enjoy this, but I can't get to that part because I have moments of it, but I also have this, this anxiety about it. So I just kept thinking that time would heal it, and it didn't.
Yeah, I remember that on your form. You were like, I don't enjoy riding
Yeah.
anymore. And I thought that was probably so difficult for you because you are around, like you said, you're around horses all the time. You have this beautiful rescue, and then to not be able to enjoy something that you've poured so much of your passion into.
Mhm.
So besides just powering through on
Mhm.
sheer willpower,
Yeah.
did you try any other therapeutic techniques to help you deal with that anxiety and fear surrounding riding?
I did. I did talk therapy, and I spoke to someone who actually specializes in people who have trauma from riding accidents.
Oh, okay.
And so, I had some tools in my toolbox, and one of those tools is even just knowing it's dangerous and knowing the consequences and, just accepting that. And, what am I willing to put myself through? And things like not ending on an anxious note. So if I'm going to be jumping a course and it's like, oh, it got me all revved up, then to end by doing something I'm really comfortable with. So there were tools that I had. But even with that, it just didn't, that um like I couldn't control the response that my body had. So I could tell my mind intellectually all these things and do the practices, but my body still had that reaction that was out of my control.
Right. I remember us talking about that too when you first came in. So ultimately, what made you decide to try doing IMT with me? Because I remember it took us a little while to get it organized, but then we
Yeah,
finally
yeah.
got into it.
So I had heard about, I have a lot of volunteers in my organization, and some of them have trauma from, military backgrounds and things like that. And so I had heard about IEMT and EMDR, and I was like, oh, it's kind of out there. Like I want to check into that, but I'm not really sure how. And then I had one of my volunteers actually went through EMDR for a trauma that she had, and then I have a friend who is also in the horse world who had worked with you doing IEMT. So I was telling her about the EMDR, and she was told me about you. And so just comparing the two, I decided to go with you. So that's kind of how yeah.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to get into you, only because once I do something, I'm really committed to it. And I didn't want to be like, okay, well, I went, but now I can't go for 2 weeks. I really wanted to make sure that it was a time in my life when I could really commit to it. So I think it only took like 4 months or so, but I
Yeah, it was like it just took us a while to get it on the same
right, to get it
schedule, I
scheduled.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once I was
Um,
in, I was in.
yeah. Oh, that's true. You were like, I'm
Let's
here,
go.
I'm on time.
Yeah. Let's
Every
fix
week
this.
at 3 o'clock we did it.
Yeah.
So when you started doing the sessions, what was that experience like? Because I know it's something many people have experience with EMDR, but not as many people have experience with going to IEMT. So it's I don't know that much about EMDR
Yeah.
myself. So like I have research for
Yeah.
people who want to compare, but just your experience with the IEMT sessions, what was that like?
So, well, the reason why I chose IEMT over EMDR is because it felt like, well, in my conversations with EMDR's therapist, it was going to be this really long, drawn out process, which is not appealing. And especially, everybody's busy, and then the IEMT, my understanding was it could work really quickly. And so, why wouldn't I try that? Like, why wouldn't I try to fix this quickly? And then if it didn't work, then that was always an option. But my experience was that, first of all, you are super approachable and really easy to be around. And I felt comfortable from the very beginning. I mean, even just our conversation on the phone, I felt really comfortable with you. And I was just excited to like get to the other side. I felt like you were like, we can fix this. And I was like, yes, I was excited about that. And I was really fascinated too with the explanation of how it all works, like the brain, how the brain works. And I almost found that as interesting as solving the problem. It was like so cool that I'm learning so much about the brain and I'm also solving this major problem that I had. So, I mean, the first session I had no idea what to expect. I was just excited about it. And I left there super encouraged because I already felt a shift,
Mm.
and I was like, I can't wait to get back and dig in some more. So that explained my experience.
Yes. Yeah, you really enjoyed the exploration, like the
Mhm.
exploration of the problem. It's like, what is this problem and how did I learn to feel this way? I think you were really curious about that, so it made
Mhm.
it really fun. And I remember you coming back in after the first one and being like, there was a windy day and
Yeah,
I didn't feel as anxious as I
I was
usually
driving down the
would.
road and a bag, as it
Yes.
happens often, and other people don't even notice. But for me, if I'm driving down the road and a bag blows across the road, it sends me into this visceral reaction. And a bag blew across the road, and I was like, "Hey, that just happened." I was like, "What?"
Right? And it's such a simple thing, but when you have like a very specific trauma with a very specific trigger
Mhm.
like that, like you said, for anyone else, maybe bag flying down the road is not a big deal, but for you, that was something that made
Yes,
your heart
set
pound
me off.
even in times when it couldn't affect you. Like I'm in my
Right,
car and it's a plastic bag, but you were having
right.
those reactions. So that was really cool when you had that kind of, oh, I
Yeah,
feel different about
it's
this
different.
thing.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
different.
So
Mhm.
since now we did, I think maybe 3 sessions or
I think we did 4.
four
Yeah,
on
we
this
did 4.
issue.
Mhm.
And this, I don't know, when would we finish? It's been a couple months. So what's your
Well,
experience been like since we completed your sessions?
yeah, it's interesting. So I think that we were thinking that we could have solved my problem in 2 sessions, but what we found is that there were other traumas that were buried. And so it was
Mm.
so interesting to me that if you asked me, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad it was, and it was like a 9, even if we didn't address my specific problem, but we talked about a problem in my past and we dealt with that issue. Even talking about my writing problem became a 6 or something, and I was like,
Yeah.
"How is that even possible?" And it's because there's so much that's buried in us that we don't realize it's like these stacked traumas. Just so interesting to me. So, my problem was a little bit more complicated, I would say, which is why, I mean, 4 sessions is not a big deal, but, it's interesting because after when I got on, Ruger, my horse, I was kind of like, okay, what's this going to be like? What's this going to be like? And I just felt almost like a normal person. It was weird. I was like, I feel like a normal person. And I noticed, so, um, even my posture, like when I would first get on, I had anxiety just climbing up the mounting block and then putting my foot in the stirrup and climbing over. And then I would always be in this like forward position, which is actually not safe. I mean, you have to have your posture right. And I was like, oh, look at me. My shoulders are back, my chest is up, I'm breathing. I'm like, wow, what is this? And even I had a friend who she's in college. She was an intern and she's away in college and she came back and I got on and I was walking around and she was like, you look different. And she even noticed, because it would take me maybe 15 minutes into writing to go, okay, remember shoulders back, like get in the right position. I would always be like bracing for something to happen. And I got on and I have a loose rein and I'm like, huh, like I just didn't have all this anxiety. And I'm like, this is what normal people feel like. you know?
We suspect. We suspect that's
Right,
how
right.
everyone else
And the thing
feels,
that
right?
complicates it more with horses is that they pick up on everything and they're flight animals. So if my heart is racing, they're going, where is the lion that's going to eat us? Because there's some reason why her heart is racing. So it was even more pressure. Like I had all this pressure on myself. I couldn't just be like, oh, well, I have anxiety. I'm just going to ride anyway, because I'd be like, my anxiety is causing him anxiety, which is causing me more anxiety, which is like, oh, we're going to die.
And now we're
So
like,
I'm sure my horse was like, thank God, like now when I sit on my back, I can breathe. So
that's amazing. I'm so happy for you because I know that's just, you posted that beautiful post when you were right on the horse, and I could just feel the heart of you being so happy to be able to be back in that place and really enjoy something that is such a huge part of your life. So
yeah,
that's really exciting.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
do you have any do you have any advice for anyone who might be watching this or curious about IMT, whether it's for specifically for horseback riding
Hmm.
or any fear, really?
Anything. Yeah, anything.
She said anything.
Anything. I mean, I have, like you said, like I posted it on social media because I want to like shout from the rooftops, like, oh my gosh, well, if I had done this 5 years ago, where would I be now? I mean, you have nothing to lose. It's not, I mean, and if it's something that is, it's easy for me to talk about a horse riding accident. There's nothing like private or anything weird about that, like upsetting that would be hard to reveal to you. But you
Sure.
don't even have to reveal what it is. You don't even have to know what I'm thinking about. If it was something else, like I don't know, a personal attack, a sexual attack, or something like that, you can help with the problem without that person even having to reveal everything. They just have to think about it in their own mind. So I would say there's really just no reason not to do it. I mean, if you really want to get better, if you really want to feel better, and I think people are almost like afraid to let go of their trauma. Like I had a friend who went
Mm.
through it with you after I recommended it, and she was kind of like, but wait, but what if I want to be mad? I'm like, you know, well, I mean, that's on you. Like that's, it's like people almost want to hold on to their trauma because it's like it defines them in some way. And I know you and I have talked about this too. It becomes
Hmm.
my identity. And I was like, well, how can it be a 5? It almost killed me. It needs to be a 10. And I'm like, well, do you want it to be a 10? Well, no. I mean, so we've defined ourselves with these things, these traumas that have happened to us through our lives. And I would just say, you can free yourself from all that. You don't have to be that. You know, and like my rescue horses, same thing, right? They've all been through trauma and I see them define themselves as like, but no, and then they finally go, oh wait, you don't have to be that. You can just be a horse and be happy. So I don't know. I just would say just do it. Like try it. There's nothing to lose.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I really appreciate it. I'm really happy for you too. I think it's just been an amazing transformation to see how you talk about even the accident, how you think about it has changed so much. And I really appreciate you taking time to share that experience with other people
Yeah,
so that they
absolutely. I
feel a
was
little more
excited to share
comfortable.
it.
So yeah. Thank you.
Okay, bye.